What's happening, everybody? Tuesday, May 26th, 2026. My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you so much for tuning in to Loud Majority Live. We've got a jam-packed show for you guys today. Big day in Texas. Big day in Texas. If you are in the Lone Star State and you are watching this, take the show with you to the polling location and go vote for Ken Paxton. Do that. Also, we've got major redistricting news as 2 states fail to join the party in redistricting in the South, 2 for very different reasons. So, as I predicted, I don't want to do that thing where I say I was right, but I was. South Carolina and Alabama fail to redraw district lines ahead of the 2026 midterms. Will Texas and Florida be enough to make up the distance? Also, a wild story put out by O'Keefe Media Group about how the Washington Nationals are doing everything possible to make you gay and a communist. Not my words. Those are the words of the head of the Public Relations Department. That's a real thing. Also, we may have a tentative peace agreement with Iran as markets have, boom, took off today. Giddy up, let's go. I'm liking it. I am liking it a lot. Before we get started, guys. Oh, and my New York Knicks, baby. My New York Knicks sweep the Cleveland Cavaliers, and everyone in New York handles it with grace and a bit of a subdued amount of emotion. We'll show you some of the scenes from outside of Madison Square Garden. Just how well New Yorkers are handling it. All I can say is thank God they won last night, and there is no game tonight, because immediately following this show, I have to go into the city, and I really don't want to get caught in this stuff. But before we get started, guys, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. We are rocking. We are rolling. Let's say hello to everybody in the live chat. How is it going? How's it going? Somebody wants to know where my hat. I don't know where my hat is. I don't know where my hat is. Somewhere around here. What are you going to do? How's everybody doing? I hope everybody had a great Memorial Day weekend. It rained here the entire time, so any sort of Memorial Day festivities totally canceled. So that sucked. That absolutely sucked. But let's dive right on in, Texas, baby.
For U.S. Senate. In March, voters narrowed the pool of candidates down to 2 for this runoff primary election, Senator John Cornyn and State Attorney General Ken Paxton. In the first go-around on March 3rd, U.S. Senator John Cornyn secured the largest number of votes. A win today would help him get one step closer to a 5th term. The winner will face Democratic State Rep James Talerico in the general election, and both Republican candidates argue that their opponent would only help out the Democrats.
Were he to be the nominee and be exposed to general election voters, especially independents, I think it's going to be a very rocky time. There will be an incredible tsunami of Democratic funds coming in against Paxton were he the nominee.
This argument is made by John Cornyn because he's having trouble in his own primary. There's no data that suggests that he's right. As a matter of fact, most of the polling suggests I'll do as well or better than John Cornyn. Secondly, I've already won 3 statewide races in a row, some of them by large margins. So that's ridiculous.
Attorney General Paxton was the second-place finisher in the March vote, and last week he received President Donald Trump's endorsement, who had criticized Cornyn for dismissing Trump's 2024 comeback chances. Only 2 incumbent U.S. senators from Texas have lost a primary in the last 100 years. So again, polls open this morning, and they will close statewide at 7 p.m. this evening, local time. Carly Todd, back to you.
All right, Alex Hogan live for us. Alex, thank you so much. And Senator John Cornyn.
So things looking good for soon-to-be Senator Ken Paxton. Now, I do want to warn everybody. I do want to give everyone a quick warning about what is going to happen one way or the other. Now, if John Cornyn wins, we get the same old, nothing really happens. Many members of the Senate are incredibly happy. He probably wins the seat. If Paxton wins, which I think that he will, you're going to have two lame duck Republican senators, which I got to tell you is not great for the president's agenda as we continue in this midterms year. What do I mean by that? Well, Bill Cassidy's out. If John Cornyn's out too, that's two people who don't have to do anything. Like they don't need the president for anything else. They're pretty much done, so they can just vote in, and obviously Trump endorsed both of their competitors. So they're probably going to be a little pissed, which, I mean, you know, makes sense. Makes a whole lot of sense that they'd be a little bit annoyed. So what does that do for the Republican majority moving forward, at least in this year? We shall see. We will see exactly what happens. Do they go out of their way to be a dick and vote against the president's agenda out of spite? If you've ever met a politician, if you ever met anyone that works in politics, you know exactly how that's going to go. They're going to do whatever they can do, sell out whoever they have to sell out in order to secure their next gig, whatever that may be. And look, if you're a John Cornyn fan or you're a Bill Cassidy fan, they will be just fine. Bill Cassidy will probably get some job in the pharmaceutical industry, lobbying Congress to help poison us a little bit more. And John Cornyn will go work for Big Oil. He'll probably be a new character on the next season of Landman. Let's be honest here. They will be absolutely fine. Or maybe they'll both go work for defense contractors where we can start a war again for no reason. Well, that war that we started for questionable reasons, they can't get a nuclear weapon. I don't care. It may be coming to an end. So perhaps we may be running out of countries to bomb, which would be a great thing, which would be a spectacular thing. We got some Iran war updates over the course of the last several days.
The United States conducted self-defense strikes near the Strait of Hormuz Monday.
And Iran's supreme leader is calling for an end to U.S. military bases in the Gulf region, saying, quote, the hands of time will not turn back.
Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst joining us now live from Tel Aviv with the very latest. Good morning, Trey.
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. Overnight, the United States conducted airstrikes against southern Iran near the Strait of Hormuz. CENTCOM says these strikes were defensive in nature and went after mine-laying vessels along with a surface-to-air missile position. These were the first U.S. strikes that have targeted Iran since early May. A spokesperson for Iran's armed forces said any new aggression will be met with a far more severe response. The strikes come amid the backdrop of ongoing diplomatic efforts to reach an agreement between Iran and the United States. Overnight, President Trump laid out a condition that he has, saying on Truth Social, the enriched uranium nuclear dust will either be immediately turned over to the United States to be brought home and destroyed, or preferably in conjunction and coordination with the Islamic Republic of Iran, destroyed in place or at another acceptable location with the Atomic Energy Commission or its equivalent being witness to this process and event. Thank you for your attention to this matter. The other key issue has to do with the Strait of Hormuz. Secretary of State Marco Rubio reiterated the Trump administration position on this critical waterway during a gaggle today.
The straits have to be open. They're going to be open one way or the other. So they need to be open. What's happening there is unlawful, it's illegal, it's unsustainable for the world, it's unacceptable. That cannot happen. The straits need to be open, unimpeded, without tolls. And obviously that needs to happen immediately as soon as anything.
We're also tracking developments in the conflict between Israel and...
So there is your update. There were defensive strikes over the weekend following President Trump's announcement that a peace plan may be in the works with the majority of the Gulf region nations. Now, following this, oil prices continued to drop a little bit today, about 5% down, with the Dow Jones being down slightly less than 0.5%. The NASDAQ reaching all-time highs, adding 1%, with the S&P up about 0.5%. Markets continue to boom despite this ongoing conflict in Iran, which, of course, to my mind, would say that they're going to continue to go higher. Because once this thing is ended, and at some point it's going to end, at some point the Strait of Hormuz will be finally open, you're going to start to see those oil prices. Right now they're at like think last time I checked, they were at $94 a barrel. Once they start getting down into the 80s, the 70s, and back into the 60s ranges, I really think that there's going to be a substantial market boom. Now, that comes as Kevin Warsh was sworn in over the weekend as the new Federal Reserve Chair. We're waiting for inflation numbers to come in over the course of the next several days, which could lead to a Federal Reserve rate hike. We shall see. Kevin Warsh, who tends to be a bit hawkish on interest rates, which is primarily why he got the job in the first place. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what those see what those inflation numbers look like. Of course, this comes at a time where people are still freaking out over the price of gas. One of the biggest economic drivers that people look to is the price of gas on Memorial Day. With the national average sitting somewhere in the 440 range, obviously that's going to have to come down if the president is going to have success in the midterms. There's just no question about it. If this sort of thing drags out, we start to get into the summertime, and you start to see $5, $6, $7 a gallon, particularly not only in blue states, but in red states all over the country, just based on a demand problem that happens over the look. Doesn't matter who's in office, what's happening globally. Gas prices go up in the summer. So the fact that they are continuing to rise throughout this entire conflict is incredibly troubling. Here's another update on Iran.
Linked an expansion of the Abraham Accords to his negotiations for an Iran deal. The president writes, during my discussions on Saturday, I stated that after all the work done by the United States to try and pull this very complex puzzle together, it should be mandatory that all of these countries, at a minimum, simultaneously sign on to the Abraham Accords. Those countries discussed are Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, Pakistan, Turkey, Egypt, Jordan, and Bahrain. Most should be ready, willing, and able to make this settlement with Iran a far more historic event than it would otherwise be. If Iran signs its agreement with me as President of the United States of America, it will be an honor to have them also be part of this unparalleled world coalition. A major feat if achieved. We will keep you updated as we learn more. Cal Bush's family making...
So President Trump is, of course, trying to get the majority of the Gulf region nations to sign on to the Abraham Accords. Of course, those were the historic peace plans that he had put into place in his first administration. And things seem to be looking well in that sort of area. Perhaps President Trump could actually bring peace to the Middle East at some point, which would be a great thing to see, which would be a phenomenal thing to see. And I certainly hope he can do it. Before we keep rocking and rolling, guys, do me a favor. Head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. That is the best way to support this show and everything we've got going on over here. You guys can use promo code SPLC to get free shipping on everything on the website. That's promo code SPLC to get free shipping on everything on the website. Once again, guys, that's loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. So, earlier today, J.D. Vance held a roundtable with his fraud task force, people like Stephen Miller, and he met with, I think it was 12 states attorneys general. You got to make sure you say that correctly. States attorneys general to see how they can clamp down on fraud. Now, obviously, we've seen huge developments in this area over the course of the last several weeks, but J.D. Vance is going to target the places that are going to have the biggest fraud schemes in the nation. And one of them, of course, is California.
So let me just recap for the benefit of our friends of the media. In just 2 months, we exposed billions of dollars in benefits that have been stolen from the American people. We've referred over $22 billion in fraudulent small business loans back to the Treasury for collection. We've deferred more than $1.3 billion in fraudulent Medicaid reimbursements that were coming from various states, particularly California. We put a 6-month hold on enrollments for new hospice and home health care providers because so many of the newer hospice providers were not actually providing hospice services, but were just focused on fraud. So we're going to cut that out for a little bit and try to get to a place where we can actually certify that the people providing hospice services are actually providing those very necessary and important services. We've recovered taxpayer funds from the $135 billion stolen after the floodgates were open in the immediate aftermath of COVID. We have found $6.3 billion in suspected fraudulent government contracts, which were mostly awarded during the last administration, and that has stopped. And finally, we've blocked $60 million in student aid fraud that should have gone to young people trying to get an education, but instead we're going to fraudsters. And I think the theme here of...
Here's the theme that needs to be discussed, and Stephen Miller gets into it in just a second. The big problem with this fraud scheme that goes on is that our system is based on the honor system. The fact of the matter is, America is just too damn big with way too many people to be able to check into every single one of the programs that the government provides. Now, I would say, as a person that would like less government intervention in almost everything, I would say that we should just have less programs to begin with, therefore less fraud. Give me my tax dollars back. Let me do with it as I please. But of course, that is a pipe dream when I wake up in the middle of the night dreaming about the world in which Milton Friedman would create. But when many of these programs are exploited, and they are getting exploited every single day. Every single day, they continue to get exploited. All it does is take away from the people who actually need it. Because let's say some of these programs, well, let's use a small number. Or you know what? No, let's use a big number. Let's say 50% of the people who are getting federal hospice care aid actually need it, but 50% are stealing from it. Well, now the whole program is going to be shut down, and it's going to hurt the people that actually need it.
All of the systems in our country, whether you're talking about voting, whether you're talking about entitlements, whether you're talking about welfare benefits, were set up based on the honor system. They're set up based on the idea that you could trust the average person through their own morality to abide by the rules and comply with the law. And so the way most welfare works in most states and most places is we take your word for it. If you fill out a piece of paper and you say your kids are hungry, you are going to get food stamps. We don't check as a country if you even have kids. The fact is basic as that. We don't even check if you even have children. You will just start getting the checks. And so what's happened to our country is we became a society, as we've seen with the Somali refugee problem in Minnesota, where you have a large number of people that are not following the honor system, they're not playing by the rules, they're not abiding by our laws, and the amount that has been fleeced from us is in the hundreds of billions of dollars. I believe, based on what I've seen and what I've heard, is that we could balance the federal budget if the only dollars that went out of the Treasury went to individuals who were properly, lawfully, correctly eligible to receive them. And that ultimately is going to be what we have to do as a country. In the meantime, because of the Vice President's leadership, you are seeing the most muscular, robust, aggressive, dedicated, determined, and speedy effort to shut down criminal fraud that has not only ever occurred in the history of this country, but in any developed nation.
I mean, it is wild. I think the claims that we could balance the budget if we got rid of fraud perhaps might be a little overblown, but you know what? I would take the opportunity to give it a try. I absolutely would. Because the fact remains is that when you have a system that is as giving as Americans, it only works if there's enough oversight in order to stop people from robbing it. People often say you can have open borders or you can have a welfare state, but you cannot have both. You can't have both. Of course, Democrats don't want to hear any of this. No. They wouldn't, because, they don't believe any of this is even happening. And because of that, well, one of the best ways to root out fraud in this country is to deport the people who ought not be here in the first place. I don't think, if I'm being honest, I don't think our prisons should have to house the fraudsters who come in this country illegally. I think our prisons should house Americans who commit fraud, and only Americans who commit fraud. But when you have an ICE facility out there, turns out Democrats are going to show up. And why are they going to show up? Well, it turns out the weather's getting nicer. And when the weather is nicer, out come the protesters, as routinely seen in America. Naturally, they all have their keffiyehs on because they just left the pro-Palestine protest, so they didn't get a chance to change.
Behind them!
I mean, look, I'm not for police beating the shit out of people. I take that back. I absolutely am. I absolutely am. Because it turns out there are some people out there who deserve a good beating. I'm going to show you one in just a second because this is kind of like a new, not a new Democratic tactic, but we're beginning to see a hell of a lot more of it. Where a person will have a whistle or a megaphone or some kind of an air horn and they blow it directly in people's faces. Now, firstly, aside from being aggressively obnoxious, it is dangerous. It is dangerous to the hearing. It is also dangerous because you cannot hear what is going on around you. And, well, here's one of them.
Attention man, all the way attention man, or shoot!
That's it.
Yeah, oh, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Let me see. Where's the megaphone?
Naturally, a giant transgender decides to jump in front. How very chivalrous of you, sir.
You will not touch these children!
And they just load up and grab another one.
Batons down! Whole bunch of kids! Lost your children in this country! Shame on you! Shame on you! Step back! Step back! Shame on you! Shame on you!
Fascist! Back up! Back up!
And we should be ashamed!
Back up! You're not ashamed!
Of course, these are the scenes they are hoping for. These are the ones they want. They want to get the charade, and they're getting it. Like over the weekend, when New Jersey Senator Andy Kim got pepper sprayed outside of that very same facility. Now, I really don't mind watching Andy Kim get... Oh, why isn't that working? Damn it. Oh, can I pull it up here? Here we go. I don't really mind watching Andy Kim get pepper sprayed because he's doing it to himself. Here's a photo of them pouring water on Andy Kim's face. First off, obviously you guys aren't professional protesters because professional protesters know that water doesn't do anything against pepper spray. You need milk. That's right. The enzymes in the milk help to break down the pepper spray. Anybody who's been out in the streets knows that. We got the story from NJ.com. Federal agents fired pepper balls at protesters outside of the Delaney Hall in Newark on Monday following days of unrest outside of a privately run immigration facility. New Jersey Senator Andy Kim said he had trouble breathing from the cloud of pepper spray deployed as growing crowds of protesters responding to an inmate hunger strike demonstrated outside. Well, I got to tell you, I think that the best way to end the inmate hunger strike inside of the Delaney Hall facility in Newark, New Jersey, is to make sure they get as many empanadas as they want in the country they were born in. Adios, muchacho. Goodbye. What we saw here is unfortunate. Is unfortunately just what we see all over the country. It's a sad, sad day. No, it was a sad day when you let in 5,000 people a day into America, Andy Kim. You did that. None of this would be happening if you guys hadn't broken the laws in the first place. But I found out over the weekend that it turns out I'm a bit of an extremist when it comes to immigration, and I don't care. I don't care. I don't care one way or the other. Democrats want these scenes, and they're getting them. Now look, you attack a bunch of cops or blow an air horn in their face or stick a megaphone in their ear and they crack you upside the head with a billy club, I don't really, okay? Have a good time. But of course the ACLU will come out and all the Human Rights Watch and all the rest of the nonprofits that we haven't really extinguished yet, that our taxpayer funding goes towards. We haven't gotten rid of them yet. We should. Considering they're the ones funding all of this nonsense. But it's not just the nonprofits. No, it's the for-profit companies as well. One for-profit company in particular is doing everything they possibly can to undermine every single value we hold sacred in America. And it is no closer. Someone named Mikey Parson said fascism because I can't think of anything valid to say. You wouldn't know a fascist if he slapped you in the face. So, there's your response to that one. Speaking of, you know what, Mickey Parsons, how about this for fascism? What if there was a company out there who did not allow their employees to go on social media and monitored their customers' Google searches upon entering their facility? Would you consider that to be fascism? Would you? I give you the Washington Nationals. Yep, I said it.
I am on the community relations team, so like corporate social responsibility.
The director of community relations for the Washington Nationals of the MLB reveals unethical behavior within the management of the Washington baseball team, including religious discrimination against a starting pitcher.
One of our pitchers, dude Trevor Williams, he is very Catholic. The Dodgers had a group out to the stadium who were drag queens who sometimes dressed up as nuns. He went on like a social media like, this is wrong, this is my religion, you all are mocking it. Because of that, we don't use him on social. Like when they're like, is a hot dog a sandwich? And like the players come up, you know what I mean? Like we don't ask him.
Potentially a violation of Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Sean then also reveals the Nationals Park is executing a surveillance strategy on Washington Nationals fans.
If you ever come to a Nats game, there is someone on our team who is responsible for figuring out everything about you. We're getting a plethora of your Google history.
And claiming they're, quote, using baseball to make money by selling out to Palantir-like defense contractors.
We're trying to use baseball to make money. And a lot of that is like defense contractors, the Palantirs of the world.
Then he goes on to claim that some corporate meetings are segregated as women only or gay only.
They would be well within their rights to say if you don't identify as a member of the LGBTQIA plus population, you shouldn't be at this specific meeting. There are some spaces that should only be for those people.
And even discloses that he has a secret agenda to promote communism to Nationals fans.
There is a Join the Communist Party poster up in my kitchen. I would love to find ways to, every home run is a $100 donation. That's communism, you know what I mean? That's redistributing someone's wealth. And a lot of people will tell you when I come to a baseball game, I don't want to think about that shit. If you're a sports fan and we piss you off, where else are you going to go? Either way, I don't give a shit. on the community relations team. So like corporate social responsibility. And my job is to help our 9 silly men wearing the same costumes score at least one more run than the other 9 silly men wearing costumes of their own. So the best thing I can do for the organization is drive revenue, right? Like make money, like any other, like we're a private organization who wants to make money.
Sean Hudson is the Director of Community Relations for the Washington Nationals and has been there since 2023. He wastes no time mocking the team that pays his bills, describing it as, quote, 9 silly men wearing costumes, and acknowledges that all he cares about is making money. Almost immediately, the Community Relations Director reveals that the Washington Nationals will intentionally leave star pitcher Trevor Williams out of any and all social media promotion. The Nationals apparently keep the spotlight off of Trevor due to his Catholic beliefs and as retaliation for his disapproval of the infamous drag queen debacle with the LA Dodgers.
It's a blatant anti-Catholic message that they're sending, regardless of how much, quote unquote good they've been doing in their community. But when I saw how deeply offensive it was, doing awful things to the cross, doing awful things about Stations of the Cross, like it became a point where these negatives are not, they shouldn't be honored, and they shouldn't mock a certain group.
Do you guys have to kind of like squelch or like calm down really like conservative?
So it's interesting. One of our pitchers, dude, Trevor Williams, he is very Catholic. He has like, I'm not religious at all. He's super Christian Catholic. All these tattoos that mean a lot. Last year, I don't understand the full scope. The Dodgers had a group out to
I don't understand the full scope, so let me comment on it.
The stadium, who were drag queens who sometimes dressed up as nuns. He went on like a social media like, this is wrong, this is my religion, you all are mocking it. So we don't use him on, because of that, we don't use him on social. When they're like, is a hot dog a sandwich? And like the players come up, you know what I mean? Like we don't ask him.
This is a potential violation of Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, which states, it shall be unlawful for an employer to limit, segregate, or classify his employees in any way which would deprive or tend to deprive any individual of employment, opportunities, or otherwise adversely affect his status as an employee because of such individual's race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Not only does Sean Hudson take pride in discriminating against his Catholic players, he's also very proud that he uses his position to inject communist ideals into the promotion of Nationals games. Hudson boasts about having communist propaganda posters, discussing how far left he is with his co-workers and supervisors, pushing for redistribution of wealth, and describes his influence as a, quote, opportunity to be the voice of reason. The director even acknowledges that when people come to a Nationals game, they, quote, don't want to think about that shit. But if we piss you off, where else are you gonna go? I don't give a shit.
I always like just cards on the table, would define myself as very far left-wing. There is a join the Communist Party poster up in my kitchen. When we go to like my boss's holiday party, we all talk about how left-leaning we are. I would love to find ways to, every home run is $100 donation. That's communism, you know what I mean? That's redistributing someone's wealth. So...
And that goes on for another 10 minutes. There's also a part in there about how when you go to a Washington Nationals game, the team is surveilling your Google searches. Right. Luckily, I don't go to a Nationals game because that park is disgusting. And it's always cold. It's always cold for some reason. I don't know why. It's always freezing. But that's what happens. That's what baseball has turned into. There are very few owners of major sports franchises that actually care about putting on a good product on the field. I'm talking to you, Steve Cohen, of the New York Mets. I know you want to be a casino owner, and the cheapest way to do that was to buy a baseball team first. But some of us actually care about our local sports. And we're going to get to that at the end of the show, because I'm going to show you some people that really care. But that's what these sports teams have become. They've become vessels for other things. Now, will this guy be fired? Probably not. Let's see. Who owns the Washington Nationals? Who owns the Washington Nationals? Here we go. The Lerner family. What do we know about the Lerner family? Oh, it's a real estate group. Great. Mark Lerner. Let's see. Let's check out Mark Lerner. Boom, boom, boom. What is? Oh, there's really nothing. There's really nothing on here about him. Lerner Enterprises. So yeah, he's a real estate guy. Redistribution of wealth on teams where players make hundreds of millions of dollars in their silly costumes. Very odd. But speaking of redistribution of wealth, well, it wouldn't be communism if we didn't have a Zorhan Mamdani clip. Zoltan, who is now straight up saying he's going to confiscate your property. Like, straight up saying it. And I'll actually be at a protest in Manhattan against Zorhan Mamdani in 4 hours. So if you're in New York City, come on out for that one. Here's Zoltan letting you know that if you own property in New York City, he's just going to take it from you.
Through our new citywide campaign, Fix the City, we will focus on the worst landlords in New York City. When necessary, we will take aggressive legal action to remove negligent owners and property managers. And for buildings that have suffered chronic neglect, we will work to transfer ownership to responsible stewards. Stewards that include community land trusts, nonprofits, or even the tenants themselves.
Now look, Zoltan, look, if you want to take property away from people and redistribute it to nonprofits, I have an idea on who you might want to start with.
Do I own 3 residences? Yeah, I do. I live here in Burlington, Vermont. We live in a middle-class neighborhood. Nice house. Guess what? I'm a United States Senator, and I own a home in Washington, D.C., as do most senators. You know, you live there year after year. When I first went to, actually, when I was in Congress for 16 years, I rented all the time. But I got elected. Okay, got a 6-year term. You know what? Let's buy a house. So we bought a house. And guess what? Like many thousands of people in the state of Vermont, I have a summer camp. It's a nice one on Lake Champlain. That's it.
I don't know. Maybe you could take Bernie Sanders, one of his 3 properties. Maybe I'll take the lake house up in Vermont. I don't know. Something to think about. Something to consider. Maybe take his. No, you'd never do that. You'd never advocate for that because he's a comrade in arms. He's out there campaigning for Graham Plattner in Maine. Graham Plattner, of course, the guy who made fun of a Purple Heart recipient who was shot 4 times saving his battalion against the Taliban in Afghanistan, said that he hoped he didn't make it out. Also, Graham Plattner, the guy who's got a Nazi tattoo on his chest, and I'm sorry I have to repeat this bit of information to you, but I feel it's important when you hear about Graham Plattner, the man who openly admitted to routinely I'm just going to say it. The man who routinely admitted to jacking off in porta potties at work sites. I'm not saying that. Those are his words. First off, don't do that at work. Wait till you get home. Second off, in a porta potty, bro, are you an animal? That's the new standard for the Democratic Party. That is who Democrats are putting forward. That is who they want you to believe are the moderates out there. That's who they want you to believe is the future of their party. Of course, he's not the only one out there with this preposterous sort of mindset. There's James Tallarico, who very, very openly and very bluntly stated that God is non-binary. and that there are up to 6 genders in one of the weirdest rants I think I've ever heard in my entire life. But that's the Democratic Party for you. And they want you to believe that someone like Spencer Pratt is the strange one. They want you to believe that Spencer Pratt is the problem. Oh, no. I digress. They are, in fact, not. Democrats continue to push a more and more radical agenda, and as they do it, the Overton window continues to close, such that you think it's normal. You think it's normal to elect a guy with a Nazi tattoo, and not like Democrats think everything in the world is a Nazi tattoo. I mean, it's actually like a Nazi tattoo. He admitted it was a Nazi tattoo, said he didn't know what it was when he got it, but refuses to get rid of it. I'm not really sure what else to say on that matter. And every radical Democrat is up there campaigning for him and doing everything they can every possible thing they can do to promote this guy. It's absolutely bananas. Bananas. We'll get to more of it in just 1 second. Before we do that, here's Jeremy.
Hey, everybody, if you're not familiar with, then let me introduce to you Armor Colostrum. Now, I didn't know what colostrum was up until a few years ago. I'd never even really heard of it. And then my wife turned me on to Armor Colostrum. And what colostrum does is it helps regrow your hair. Not going to lie, that's the reason that I started looking into it. But then I started noticing some other things that I could benefit from. I used to get acid reflux very badly. I used to bloat very badly. It felt like I was 10 or 15 pounds heavier than I was until I made Armor Colostrum a part of my everyday schedule. And now things have changed so very much. Let me introduce to you what Armor Colostrum actually does and what it looks like. In a study measuring immune cell response to toxin, Armor Colostrum performed 32% stronger and faster than other colostrum companies. 400 plus bionutrients activated in your life, in your body, to help regrow hair, strengthen your gut health, regrow your nails, toenails, and fingernails healthy, get rid of fungus, stop bloating, and more. And now you can get yours right now for up to $18 off each and every purchase at tryarmra.com. Promo code LFATV. Click the apply button once you've entered the code and watch your discount fall off. That is tryarmra.com/LFATV. Order now.
Guys, head on over to tryarmor.com and use promo code LFATV. That's tryarmor.com and use promo code LFATV. That's the Democrat Party for you. Actual Nazi tattoos, seizing of property, no plan, tax and spend, force everyone to leave, and then take money from the middle class. Because when the billionaires go, and they will, they already are, there will be quite literally nobody left to tax. But, you know, that's why we have a two-party system here in this country, or we used to have a two-party system in this country, as we're beginning to see many Republicans around the country just not being able to figure out what war we are in the middle of currently. As a matter of fact, as we see redistricting battles going on left, right, up, down, and sideways all over the country, there are now 2 Republican states that will not be redistricting ahead of the 2026 elections. I sort of knew this was going to happen. As a matter of fact, I told you all it was going to happen. But everybody said, Kev, don't worry about it. No, they'll come through. Oh, and are they like purple states with Republican governors? No, Alabama. That's right, Alabama. An Alabama district court has said that the new maps they have drawn cannot be used. Alabama. That's right. Also, the state of South Carolina has failed to come to a redistricting compromise ahead of the 2026 primaries. So there's two seats gone off the potential redistricting map at a time that I still think it's going to be an absolute Republican bloodbath. An absolute Republican bloodbath. But hey, I don't want to be down about it. No. I would never want to do that. Alex saying, how about them Knicks? We're going to talk about the Knicks at the end of the show. Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about them Knicks, baby. Because, it's fun. It's just a lot of fun. Before we do that, guys, head on over to lfatv.us. That's lfatv.us. That is your home base, your mothership, your landing pad for all things LFATV related. Check out the LFATV store. And while you guys are there, consider becoming a monthly donor over at LFATV. That's the best way to keep the lights on over here, guys. Head on over to lfatv.us. Let's check in on our daily how's things going in Los Angeles play. Here's Spencer Pratt.
What are your plans for the over 40,000 homeless in Los Angeles?
Yeah, they're not homeless. They're drug addicts. Most of these people are addicted to fentanyl and meth. This isn't Spencer making it up.
Are you saying they don't have homes?
There is places for all of these people to sleep in LA. No matter what anybody tells you, we have housing and shelter for everyone that's living on the street. They're choosing to be on the street because they want to do drugs. They don't want rules. They don't want to listen. They want to have animals to abuse. This idea that they're forced on the street right now is a lie that our city is perpetuating. We've paid $24 billion to house these 40,000 people. There's spots for all of these people. They are choosing because they're an addict, and you can do fentanyl and sewer meth on the sidewalk with no repercussions. These places are not as they have to follow some rules. You can't torture a dog in some of these houses. You can't just attack people. You can't just be naked.
Where are you going to move?
Well, I just released a 9-minute video, so you can.
I think I saw your video.
Yeah, so it's very detailed.
But it's going to take time to build the facility and money.
No.
How fast do you think you can do it?
These people can literally. I went to Washington and I saw miles of the most insane prefabricated housing and building. I asked all the CEOs of these companies, say, how long does this take? I met with FEMA and HUD, 3 days. 3 days. And all of this is cheaper than trying to take over, kick senior citizens out of their buildings. This is what happens. They kick them out, and then the NGOs come in, and they spend 4 years. This is LA. This is LA's timetable.
Where is this facility going to be?
It's on beautiful federal land property.
Where, in LA County?
Well, when I'm mayor, I'll go meet with the federal government, and I'll get the property. Right now, I'm just running, so I can't give you the exact address because I don't have the legal responsibility to go represent Los Angeles and say, can I have this land? But when I'm mayor, I promise you, because we have the Olympics coming and everybody in the government wants LA to be the #1 most beautiful city, they will work with me to give me the land I need.
So you're going to move these 40,000 people somewhere, and you're going to have this facility up in, you said, how long?
Here's what you got to realize.
90 days?
Let me explain something. These 40,000 people, 60% of them, City Watch just announced this week, are not from Los Angeles. They're not from California. These people have been bussed in by scam rehabs, scam NGOs, scam homeless nonprofits. These people, when I unplug them and say, we're not taking our tax money anymore, they're all going to Seattle where the mayor will welcome them. These are products to a lot of people. So the people that want to keep doing drugs and live on the sidewalk, a lot of these people are going to leave. The other ones, there's a lot of criminals. There's people that are getting naked in front of kids. They're going to jail. The people that are torturing animals, they're going to jail. So not everyone goes in the same box. So we have the money, we have the resources, and we have the facility.
Now, on some level, I don't think this reporter is so stupid that he doesn't know what he's doing. Well, where's it going to go? On federal land. Which federal land? Well, I'm not the mayor yet, so I haven't negotiated with the federal government in order to pick out the land. No shit. And the reporter knows that. You don't get to interview mayoral candidates on local news by being dumb, but he's pretending to be dumb. Why? Because the average Democratic viewer out there is really dumb. Some of them are in the comments section on my Twitter page right now. Pretty wild stuff. But speaking of people who are actually dumb, speaking of people who are very, very, very dumb, well, if you watch this show enough, you know exactly where we're going. And of course, that would be the 11 a.m. hour on ABC. Let's check in on the ladies of The View because they are miffed. They are befuddled at the fact that Jackson Dart, oh my Lord, Jackson Dart would dare introduce President Trump at a rally. Now, I know this is going to come as a shock to the midwits on that show, but it turns out a 23-year-old guy who looks like Jackson Dart with a mullet who grew up in Utah and played at Ole Miss might be a Republican. He might be. I don't know. But the ladies of The View, they're confused.
New York Giants quarterback Jackson Dart surprised a lot of fans and some of his teammates Friday for this appearance off the field. Take a look.
What an honor, what a privilege it is to be here. And without further ado, I'm grateful, I'm honored, I'm pleasured to introduce the 45th and 47th President of the United States of America, President Donald J. Trump.
I want to thank Jackson Dart. This is going to be a future Hall of Famer in my book. Thank you. Thank you, Jackson. Great. I'm looking at Jackson. I'd like to know, is there any woman in the audience that thinks they can tackle that guy? Because I'd like to meet you. I'd like to shake your hand. I don't know. Jackson, you think you could play against women okay?
I don't know what all that was.
Well, that's because you're an idiot, Whoopi Goldberg. You see, on shows like this one, and I assumed on The View, when you cut a clip and you play 5, 15, 20 seconds of it, you usually watch the full clip in order to get the context so you would understand it. That came in the middle of a rant about men playing in women's sports. And President Trump was asking the question, do any of the women in here think they could tackle Jackson Dart? But Whoopi Goldberg must have her braids tied too tight because she just doesn't seem to be able to understand what that had to do with. Then they went on to talk to Sarah Hayes. I know you don't know who Sarah Hayes is. She's the relatively attractive blonde lady that ABC can't make famous. Then they got football analysis from Joy Behar, which is hilarious. I'm not going to make you all sit through that because we've only got about 5 minutes left, and I want to make sure that I get to the part of the show that I've been looking forward to the entire time. Before we get to that, guys, Mike Lindell.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Guys, head on over to MyPillow.com and use promo code LOUD. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD for up to 80% off everything on the website. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. So, let's have a little bit of fun, shall we? Let's have some fun. Because my New York Knickerbockers beat the shit out of the Cleveland Cavaliers over the course of the last week, being the first team in many decades to sweep 2 NBA playoff series in one postseason. The best part about it, of course, was that during Game 3, the cancer that is Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce were sitting courtside to see the New York Knicks kick the crap out of the Cleveland Cavaliers. We even got to see Travis Kelce chug a beer because apparently he's 19 years old. But I do want to congratulate the New York Knicks fans. I really do. Die in the wool, New Yorkers, baby. We've been waiting for this for a long, long, long time. We sat through Isaiah Thomas trying to end the franchise. And I want to thank the New York Knicks fans out there for handling this sweep with elegance and grace. I'm only kidding.
We take it all the way back and go. Mystic King of New York. I love you.
This is insane. This should look like the Christmas parade.
How the fuck do you even get up there? Let's go Knicks! Let's go Knicks! Let's go!
Now, Zorhan Mamdani tried to shut down the after party in New York City. Of course, that was unsuccessful because everything he does is unsuccessful. And I can't imagine why he'd want to do that. Just to be clear, those people are like 3 stories in the air. It was a party on 6th Avenue, for sure. And once again, I'll say it again, I want to thank the Knicks fans for handling clear that we haven't won anything yet. We haven't won anything yet, so to see scenes like this one is a little bit odd of a man crowd surfing on top of a barricade down 6th Avenue.
No, look at this guy. Oh my.
Yeah. Oh, 7th Avenue, excuse me. Yeah, that's right. He's on top of the street pole. He's on top of the street pole. I also saw...
Oh my God! We're gonna win a championship!
I also saw a midget being thrown off of the top of the taxi stand, and then I saw a guy in a wheelchair being carried throughout the crowd. We're just different here. We're just different here. Guys, it's 4 p.m. and I've got to go to that hellhole right now, so I'll catch you guys back live tomorrow. Until then, everybody, stay loud.